What's everybody? What's up, everybody, is actually the correct way to say that. I'm having a little trouble today. I appear to be a tad flummoxed after the large trade last night. I'm Dan Vespers, just here to introduce Snack Size DFS, my buddy Brenton Eckersley, getting set to break down your Sunday DFS card. But you know why I'm here, not just to introduce it, not just to remind you guys to like and subscribe, because that's obviously a big deal, but to remind you all that the Super Bowl is coming 1 week from today, the biggest betting weekend of the year. It's almost here, and that means more updated odds and more props on Super Sunday with our friends at Bet Online. They've got hundreds, literally hundreds of prop bets, MVP plays, exclusive in-game live betting opportunities, making Bet Online your ultimate game day companion. They are the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. Visit Bet Online today and make game day a little bit more fun. Bet Online, the game starts here. Brenton, the floor is yours. I got nothing else to talk about. Why would anybody listen to me? Have at it.
Thank you, Mr. Vesperus. Welcome to another episode of Snack Size DFS. I'm your host, Brenton Eckersley, coming to you from South Australia. This is your Sunday, February the 2nd, DraftKings game card. I'm recording on Saturday over here. We are recording a couple of hours later than I normally do, and it looks like all of the news that we're going to get at this particular time of recording has pretty much come through, so we'll have a pretty good idea of what's going on this 5-game DK card. It's a nice little short one. There's a few game notes here to look at. As I said, 5 games, Sunday, February the 2nd. We have a couple of fast games here, Dallas at Cleveland. That's coming in at a 237 game total from Vegas. And Memphis at Milwaukee is coming in slightly higher at 241. Just keep an eye on Ja Morant here. He is doubtful, so we expect him probably not to play. And that's just going to lower that game total just a little, but I still like that matchup for Milwaukee with the pace bump down the bottom there. Just a generally fast game and Milwaukee getting the boost. Couple of slow games out of the 5. Boston at Philadelphia, that's 221 game total, and so is the Clippers Raptors game in Toronto. Another pace bump for you down the bottom there. Detroit taking on the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are one of the quicker teams in the league this year, so we expect a little fantasy boost there for the Detroit Pistons alongside the Milwaukee Bucks. Attack and stack. We have a short game card, so there's only a couple of teams to attack here. Again, it's the 2 teams getting the pace bump. They also get the fantasy points bump as well. To a couple of teams giving up relatively large amounts of fantasy points on the regular this season. It's the Detroit Pistons at Chicago and Milwaukee taking on Memphis in Milwaukee. A couple of games that you can look to attack there. Let's jump into the first game. It's the Bulls taking on the Pistons in Detroit. We have, for the Bulls side of the ball, Levine doubtful at this stage. So obviously that opens up a stack of things for mostly the guards for the Chicago Bulls. I really like the Kobe White price here of 6,100. 40-point DK upside any given night. He is a little bit of a yo-yo this season, bouncing around, but I certainly like him over the prices of your Io DeSumnews, Josh Giddey, and Lonzo Ball, who tends to be more of a season-long fantasy guy rather than a DFS guy. So Kobe White at 6,100 is not a bad play here. Patrick Williams will also get a usage bump at 4,300. He's been getting some 20 to 30 DK point nights anyway. We now have Levine doubtful. 4,300 is a bit of a dart throw for Patrick Williams. And a couple of just straight-out pinata plays for you, as we call them here at Snack Size DFS. Jalen Smith at 3,900 coming off the bench at centre. He's had some upside in his minutes lately, so 17 and 23 minutes in his last 2 games, and this guy can score fantasy points at a high rate, so 30 and 26 DK points. If you have to land at someone on that low under 4K price in this DK card, then Jalen Smith at centre is not a bad play at 3,900. And the other one to keep an eye on here, and as we move forward for the Bulls as well, is Matas Buzelis. He's a second pinata play here for you. Same thing with Smith. The minutes are slowly rising here. 20, 22, and then 26 minutes in his last game, which is lovely to see. The DK point scoring a little bit lower points per minute than Jalen Smith can produce. 17, 20, and 27 DK points in his last three, and I believe that his price was right on that 4K mark for Matas Buzelis at the moment. Swinging over to the Pistons, this is a pace bump as mentioned for the Detroit Pistons. It is also a back-to-back, so just watch the news. As always, I'll record this a fair way out from the actual lineups starting or the tip-off, so just keep an eye on it. It's a Sunday-Monday back-to-back for Detroit. Detroit playing as we speak. Isaiah Stewart is in. Cade Cunningham here is one of my favourite plays on the board. If you believe that the Bulls may keep this close, that's questionable, of course. Vegas doesn't have them too far apart at the moment. So Cade Cunningham in a pace bump versus a team that gives up fantasy points everywhere. I really like this price of 10-2. This is basically the floor for him right now. And the two positions that you want to attack the Bulls specifically are point guard and centre. As you can see there, Cade Cunningham 10-2, and then moving into Jalen Duren at 6,200. So again, it's the same description. It's the pace. It's the position that you can attack here at centre. This is also a floor price for Jalen Duren, so I really like him versus the Bulls. Your pinata play for Detroit, I'm not overly interested in this, but again, sometimes we just have to fall low. We have to find someone to give us some value, and Isaiah Stewart coming back in after his suspension at 3,000 on the dot would be your pinata play for Detroit. Moving on to Dallas and Cleveland. This one's a fast game, as mentioned. At the moment, there's a fair bit of news going on here, especially for Dallas. At the time of recording, we have Daniel Gafford and Kyrie and PJ Washington all questionable. So obviously, a fair bit of movement to happen here. If one or two or even three of these guys don't play, we have to watch out what's happening with the news. Daniel Gafford himself, questionable, of course, but if he does play, 7,200 is a great price for Daniel Gafford here. Even against the Cleveland Bigs, they're hard to score against, but 7,200 is just too cheap for mine. He's coming off scores of 48, 42, 50, and 43 DK points with no Derek Lively, of course. PJ Washington, boy, this guy can roll when he wants to. 7,100, it's another guy who's just too cheap. Again, I've missed the questionable tag there in the name, but yes, he's questionable. Watch the news. 60 points, 33 points, 40, 57, and 48. All adds up to way too cheap a price for PJ Washington, even versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And of course, if Irving can't go, then your instant injury replacement is Spencer Dinwiddie at 5,100. That's going to be smash territory if Kyrie can't play. Your pinata play for the Dallas Mavericks for mine is Klay Thompson. That is if Irving sits. All that usage has to go somewhere. 5K, Klay can breeze through that just with actual points. So he would be my look at a mid-price pinata play there. On the Cavs side of the ball, LeVert and Craig Porter Jr. questionable. Okoro has already been ruled out. This price for Evan Mobley is just too cheap as well. 7,900. Dallas at power forward is one of the places on the Mavericks lineup that we can certainly attack. That power forward position has been giving up fantasy points for most of the season. And he also had 59 DK points versus Dallas last time out. So really nice price for Evan Mobley there. Ty Jerome at 4,800. This is only if LeVert remains out. He's been balling coming off that bench for the Cavs. Karis LeVert's come up as questionable again. This time Okoro was ruled out and LeVert remained questionable. So there's a high chance that LeVert actually plays here. That would just wipe out Ty Jerome for me and instantly bring in Karis LeVert himself. That $3,900 price tag is just way too cheap for a guy who can score in bunches like LeVert can. $3,900 if there is no minutes limit mentioned. That's a tasty price for Karis LeVert. Moving on to one of the slower games of the day, it's the Clippers taking on the Raptors. We know that Norm Powell is out. That's big news for the Clippers. That opens up a ton of shots for the Clippers team. Chris Dunn is already ruled out in this one. I'm not looking at Harden or Zubac here, which would be a couple of my usual go-to guys. They're just priced relatively well, I believe, in this matchup versus Toronto. Kawhi Leonard would be the higher price guy that I'm interested in here at 6,700. We know what his ceiling can be. It's 45 to 50 DK points. His last game he played 28 minutes, so I am looking for something in a minutes boost here. Hopefully Toronto can keep this close. Toronto have been a lot better lately, so that's a high possibility. It's a slow game. I don't want to spend up on Harden or Zubac. Kawhi Leonard at 6,700 is where I'm landing. And then with Norm Powell out, you can look at KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr. at 3,500. He's going to get some more minutes here. Derek Jones Jr. has been getting the minutes lately anyway, so that we're not expecting a minutes bump here for Derek Jones Jr., but what you can expect is more field goal attempts from DJJ at 4,200. Moving on to Toronto, again, this is a slow game. I tend to shy away from the high-price players in that game script. I'm not really interested in Barnes or Barrett here or Pirtle. It's the lower-price guys that I want to have a look at here. Davion Mitchell is questionable and Jamal Shed is doubtful. So we have some guys that are basically low-end guys that we can look at as pinata plays, and Kelly Olynyk is the safer one of this group of three at the moment. 3,400. He's been scoring over 20 DK points on the regular lately. He's a low-end filler with limited upside. Your upside guys are Chris Boucher at 3,600 and Bruce Brown at 4,600. You call them both pinata plays. It really is going to depend what position you land on where you need a lower price guy. Another slow game next is the Boston versus Philadelphia 76ers game. There's actually nothing on the injury report here for Boston. It's much easier for me to talk about Boston when they don't have a back-to-back, which is what's happening right here. Generally expect that all of them are going to play. We have nothing on the injury report. I really like this price for Kristaps Porzingis. Continues to hover around that 7K mark, so bang on 7,000 here for Porzingis. It's a great price. His last two games, 63 and 45 DK points. It's a pretty easy drop in there for Kristaps. The other guy I like at the high price end of things for Boston is Jason Tatum. So 9,600. The reason I'm interested here is 62 DK points versus Philly earlier in the year. Luke Cornett at 3,700 would be your pinata play. He has a high points per minute threshold. I'm not completely excited about that. We have no injury news yet. If Horford or Porzingis were to sit, then yeah, sure, Cornett becomes a much better option. But he's been scoring quite well anyway in fairly low minutes. So again, if you have to fall there, you may be tossing up between Cornett and Boucher in the last game. I'd probably take Boucher in a GPP format and potentially Cornett in a cash format. On the Philly side of the ball, we have Andre Drummond and now Caleb Martin, both questionable. And we also know that Paul George and Joel Embiid are out. So Tyrese Maxey at 10K. I mean, when the other two guys of the big three here are out, he is always in play. You're going to have guys playing Jason Tatum and bigger names on the card at a similar price point. So this would be a GPP play away from those guys at pivot. 10K, he can easily exceed that. It's a tough matchup, yeah, but someone's got to do the majority of the heavy lifting here for Philly, and I like that price for Maxey. Kelly Oubre is your other guy. He's one of the guys I rarely play because I just don't seem to get him right, but he has been rolling lately. And of course that's with Paul George out, Joel Embiid out, shots going around everywhere else. So Oubre is a decent play at 6,400. Your pinata plays, look, it's just a washing machine here for who goes off against Boston when Paul George is out. I don't tend to mess with these guys too much, but again, we have to have some lower value guys. These are your pinata plays for the Philadelphia Sixers at the moment. Eric Gordon at 4K, Justin Edwards at 4K, Ricky Council at 4,100. If you can tell me which one of those guys is going to do it on a nightly basis, you're better at DFS than I am. Last game, this is a great game to attack on both sides of the ball. It's a very quick game. Memphis at Milwaukee. I believe it was a 241 game total, if I remember correctly. Both teams on a back-to-back, so watch the news. I do record early here. Things may change quickly. Sunday, Monday back-to-backs for both teams are Ja Morant is the huge news here because he's already been listed doubtful a day ahead for the Grizzlies, so that just brings Luke Kennard in. 4,500 for Luke Kennard. If he is the spot filler for the starting position for Ja Morant, then that is just chalk territory. We have to play him at 4,500. Of course, you can pivot off. I just don't know who you're going to do that to. You're taking a wild risk playing someone else at that salary. Desmond Bane at 7,700, he's going to get a big usage bump. As you can see there, 24 field goal attempts with the last game, in the last game when Ja was out. And honestly, for the way he's scoring DK points at the moment, he's found his rhythm. He's just rolling at the moment, Desmond Bane. 7,700 is too cheap anyway, and now we have Ja doubtful. Your drop-in pinata play here with Ja doubtful, and if he doesn't play, Scottie Pippen Jr. I haven't been playing a lot of Scottie Pippen Jr. lately. 4,200. If I would probably like this more if he was around the 38, 3,900 price, but he is still going to get more minutes with Ja out, so he would be your pinata play at the lower end of the scale. For Memphis, the last team of the day, Milwaukee on that Sunday, Monday back-to-back. Bobby Portis has come up as questionable, and basically everybody else has been listed as probable. So let's just assume that they are going to go into this game attacking the first night of the back-to-back with most of their team healthy. So in that case, it is Giannis at 11,600. Look, this is a pace-up spot. I already believe that I probably won't play a lot of Giannis here, but anything could happen against a quick team and a team that gives up a lot of fantasy points. He won't be in too many of my lineups, Antetokounmpo here, but 11,600, he's always in play. It's just, he's good at basketball, right? And Memphis give up fantasy points everywhere. The other guy I have the most interest in for the Bucks here with everybody healthy is Chris Middleton, and I haven't listed the price there. Apologies, I don't quite remember what that price was, but go and have a look at the DK card, and if I've listed him there, it's because he has the potential to beat that value, and I believe it was around the 5K mark, and we also know that while he's been a yo-yo, we can attack the Memphis wings, the shooting guard, the small forward, and the power forward position. They're the spots where the Grizzlies are giving up fantasy points at the moment. So I like Chris Middleton, even though I can't see his price. Apologies. Your pinata play on this side of the ball is Gary Trent Jr., 4,100. He's been an absolute yo-yo lately. It's either 20-something DK points or 5. So I would be hesitant at best to include Gary Trent Jr. I think we have some better pinata plays in previous games. My favourite plays for the day, it's that Cade Cunningham versus Chicago play. Pace bump, fantasy points everywhere. I also like Jalen Duren versus the Bulls here at that centre position. PJ Washington's been rolling. He has a tougher matchup, but you can still take on that price versus Cleveland. Kristaps versus Philly, just too cheap. Tatum versus Philly is your high price guy if you want to try and exploit that 62 DK points that he dropped earlier in the season. Kennard versus Milwaukee. If Ja doesn't go, and we don't expect him to, this is just going to be a chalk play. 4,500 was way too cheap. And Desmond Bane with the usage bump if Ja doesn't play versus Milwaukee as well. That's a nice quick one for you today. This has been Snack Size DFS. I'm part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network. Thanks as always to Dan Besbris. Please like and subscribe to the Old Man Squad channels. And you can find me on socials at Terrain72 on Twitter and at Terrain72.bsky.social on Blue Sky. That's it for us today. Thank you very much, guys. And back to you, Dan.
That looks like that last word got cut off. That's okay. We're fine. We know what happened. Brenton is the man. I can't remember if he definitely told you to follow himself. I think that's what he was doing at the end there, but it might have gotten cut off. Terrain72 is where Brenton's at on social media. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And please, before you head out, check out our buddies over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click the link in the show description to unlock up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash and a free play. And if you do it today in the immediate aftermath of the Luka Doncic trade, they have a 77% odds boost going on right now where you get a token boost on the card that you play. So whatever the odds normally are, they made them 77% better. So that's pretty sweet. Yes, those are max bets. You're going to put like $10 on it, but it's just a great way to give more odds, put more odds in your bucket on plays that you're making. They are really important. Take advantage of these odds boosts. That's the only one that's happening today. That's actually called a profit boost. I got to make sure that I get my terminology right over at underdogfantasy.com and take the information that Brenton just gave you. Look at the best DFS plays that he discussed and figure out if one of those guys is someone that maybe is expected to do better than what the numbers suggest. So check out the projections. Maybe you like the Kawhi Leonard point, rebound, assist, go higher, 29.5, something like that. Maybe there was a slow pace of play game. You go the other way. Maybe you're thinking about, are Mavericks guys going to step up now? Are they mad? How do they feel? Like, there's all these different things you can play. And all you got to do is decide whether you think someone's going to go higher or lower. A minimum of 2. And then as you graduate up, you can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. If you want to really power boost your odds, that's the way to do it. I prefer to just go 2 at a time. That's the way to just sort of slowly grow your bankroll with stuff that you have the most confidence in. And then, again, throw that profit boost on top, throw that free play in there. It's just a really easy way to give yourself a nice kick in the pants. And it's a fun and easy game. You don't actually have to understand everything that Brenton told you on the DFS side to play these Underdog Fantasy Pick'em lines. You just need to know 2. You don't need to fill out a card and make everything mix and match. Thank you to Brenton. Always incredible work from our good buddy, Brenton Eckersley. Again, he is Terrain72 on social media. This is Snack Size DFS for the Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Network. And you know the rule. If you make it to this part of the show, you have to hit that subscribe button. We also have lots of stuff over on the full season side. We've got a big Luka Doncic trade breakdown show that's up right now. So when you subscribe, you'll get to check out all that. Like this show for Brenton's sake. Go follow him again. I'm Dan Vespers for the Old Man Squad. We'll see you guys soon.